Live here.
Live!
But we don't have to necessarily know what that means.
What's the someday of black?
I don't
there's
know
a
that we
reason
want to-
this story happens now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the movie writes itself. Ooh. Well,
I'm still streaming. How do I stop streaming? No!
We're gonna have to come up with another one of those. We'll
are.
have to edit a new one so that like we're on episode 29.
Wow.
At least by episode 50, we're gonna have to change.
Yeah, a new
We
one.
have to do like a season, almost like season one. How many episodes in this season should we have? Anyway, welcome to
maybe season 1 should be done when we finish this outline. So in about 6 years' time.
About 6 years' time, we will definitely be done with season 1. Friday, November 4th.
Friday, November 4th, 2022.
Yes. Jake Wick is continuing his Jake Wick theme.
Yeah. Today I'm Jake Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum. I don't even know what parabellum means.
I don't either. We should ask Derek.
We should ask Derek. What does parabellum actually mean?
All right. So here we are today, and we're back at it.
We've had a good morning this morning, haven't we? What were we doing this morning, Ben?
We were having a note session this morning, which was a great, wonderful.
But what was unique about the note session?
Well, in this particular note session, we were on the other side of the table. It was a script that we are developing and producing.
Yeah.
A writer who is extremely talented, Mr. Nathan Graham Davis.
Yep.
And we were having a really great note session. It was very interesting to be on the other side of the table.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is interesting to be on the other side of the table. I've been learning a lot.
Yeah.
And I've been learning a lot about what an understanding, I think, what a producer experiences. And I know we've talked a little bit this week about how can we be good collaborators? What is required of a screenwriter? And it has been immensely interesting to be on the other side of the table and be and I'll only say positive things because I think Nate's been fantastic. But it has been very interesting to be, here's a screenplay that we love, that we really like, and that we of course want to become even better than it is. And and also interesting working with other producers as well who have other opinions that mainly jive with ours and sometimes don't, and that's okay too. It's again all part of this collaborative process.
It does fall into the topic that we talked about yesterday, which is the how can I be the best collaborator I can be.
Yeah.
And I think that clearly applies to being a screenwriter. But I hope that as we move more and more into producing as well, that we remember that too. How can we be the best collaborator we can be? And again, it's that idea of we're all working towards the same goal. We all want a movie to get made.
Yeah.
And we all, believe in the story and believe in the project. Otherwise, we wouldn't be spending time on it.
Absolutely right. Why would you? Why would you?
Why would you?
Yeah.
I think that what's really interesting about working with producers at various stages, I think this might be an interesting topic to just discuss for a little bit, is the idea of like, at what point are you giving over your scripts? Or at what point are you, even from a contractual place, let's pull it back, I think, to the business side. One of the things that our producing partner on this wants to do is do a shopping agreement. And I think that
what's a shopping agreement?
Well, that's where I was going with that. Yeah. Good question, Jake. So a shopping agreement is kind of exactly what it sounds like. It's an agreement between both producers and the writers who wrote the initial script that allows the producers to shop that project and gives them that right to go out and submit the script on your behalf, to package other elements, to giving them a period of time, not forever. It's not indefinite. Nowadays, they tend to be about 18 months.
Yeah, 12 to 18.
And you know, there are many ways in which you can go about setting up your screenplay. And this is, I think, where my head is going to, especially at this stage with a producer. And we've done things maybe perhaps differently than a lot of other writers do. Sometimes to our benefit, sometimes not. But we haven't entered into many shopping agreements. We haven't entered into many option agreements. An option agreement, similar to a shopping agreement, gives a producer a specific amount of time to go out and try and set up your project, but is far more in depth in terms of how much you would get paid in that event. It gives them far more ownership over the material in terms of when they go out to the town with things, but it also usually requires them to give you a little money up front. Nothing substantial.
So I think probably the primary differences between a shopping agreement and an option agreement basically is money and contractual details. With a shopping agreement, no money exchanges hands, and as part of the shopping agreement, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, the part of it is that each party can negotiate their deal as and when that moment arises.
Correct. Under good faith terms. You can't, or you shouldn't, go into a shopping agreement going, well, if they set it up at Warner Brothers, I'm going to ask for, $5 million,
right?
Because that's not good faith.
Yeah.
You want to. The producer will make their deal, you'll make your deal, and hopefully you'll all find a happy medium there.
Whereas with an option, as Ben was stating, you, as the screenwriter, get paid something, an option fee, and your deal is worked out in advance.
Sometimes, I mean, it could be as little as $1.
It can be as little as $1. Yeah, I think just money has to exchange hands. I might be wrong about that. Is there like a minimum option for a WGA writer?
I've heard of free options. I don't know if the guild has anything.
I wonder.
We could look that up. Free options maybe are only for non-guild writers, and maybe you have to exchange a certain amount of money for an option. I honestly don't know the answer to that question because we have never entered into one. Although we know lots of screenwriters who have. It is a way, especially when you're starting out, to at least earn some money. But the third way in which you can work with a producer on your project is by not having a written agreement at all, and rather a verbal agreement. In the state of California, verbal agreements can hold up in court. If you have email exchanges, those are proof of your agreement to work with each other. And a lot of it has to do with the stage you're at with a project and whether that producer is going to help develop that script, whether that producer is coming on board at the initial idea phase, and that you're going to develop the script all the way from the very beginning. And various other factors in terms of why you would choose to do different things. I see a look on your face as though you found something on the Guild website regarding options.
I have. Yes, that's what 14 years of working together does. You can just read my face.
Yes.
Option material, says theatrical, but again, I'm sure it would apply to streamers as well.
Yeah.
Company may option literary material from a professional writer for a period of up to 18 months upon payment of not less than 10% of minimum. Each renewal period of up to 18 months requires payment of not less than an additional 10% of minimum. So basically 10% of minimum for every 18 months.
Now, The difficult part is that is an option from a major company. And so
and to a WGA writer.
But producers are not usually WGA signatories. Companies are. And so I don't believe there is a rule, although I could be wrong. And if there is a rule, then writers break it all the time, which, by the way, happens all the time on lots of writers' rules. But I don't believe there's a rule that says that you must option material to WGA signatories, because that would be almost impossible then to option to most producers. An option agreement with a signatory company.
Are producers not WGA companies? Are they not? I guess maybe they're not, aren't they? Yeah.
No, they're not. They're producers, and if they are part of a union, they're PGA. They become employees of the company also. They enter into an agreement with a WGA signatory company.
Yeah, interesting.
So it depends on how much of a studio-ish kind of operation they have.
Yeah.
You know, some producers probably are WGA signatories.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
You know, if they're going to be if you're going to be doing development and you want to hire writers to do development and you want to pay them and they're WGA writers, then you have to be a WGA signatory.
Yeah. Signatory procedures. A company intending to employ, option, or purchase literary material must be a signatory prior to entering into an agreement with the writer in order to obtain the following.
So that's really interesting. So I was wrong, and that actually any producer then that will option material from you must be a signatory. Now,
interesting.
I think that rule is probably broken quite a bit, but I could also be wrong about that as well.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, now becoming a WGA signatory, let's just be clear, is not very difficult.
Yeah.
And the minimum, by the way, is a minimum based on the size and scale of the production. And when you're still in development,
you don't know what that is.
It's pretty hard to determine. So if you're talking 10% minimum on a low budget movie, you're talking like a couple grand probably.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, if you're talking about 10% minimum on a high budget feature, then you're probably talking 7-8 grand.
Yeah.
But you know, options can go up to like 20,000.
I think go absolutely. Yeah.
We have optioned one piece of material, I think, in our career.
Yeah.
And that was actually The Princess.
We actually did, technically speaking, option that, didn't we?
And the deal was made under the guise of a purchase, but Disney and Fox told our attorney, and maybe this is not true, but it's what their business affairs told our attorney, which was that their customary practices is to option a spec screenplay first.
Pay for a rewrite. Pay for a rewrite
with one step. And that then their full purchase price would not be delivered until principal photography. Now that's a way for them to really mitigate their risk. There's probably cases where they don't do that if the writer's
I'm sure.
They tell your lawyer that this is their customary practices, but if you have enough of a resume, you can get around that kind of stuff. In our situation, we are above scale writers. We ended up making a deal whereby our option agreement was large enough to where we kind of were getting a purchase price,
basically,
with the option, and that our purchase price was really like a nice big chunk on top,
on the other side.
So we felt good about entering into that, because what they did was they just made our rewrite a lot more. In order to kind of cover the bridge, the gap. But it technically was an option. And what's interesting about that is that had they not moved forward with The Princess, after, I forget how long that option was for, let's say it was 12 or 18 months. And they had the ability to extend that option. But had they not moved forward with it, we would have gotten it back.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And we wouldn't have had to pay anything for it.
Yeah.
And all the money that they paid us up front would be ours to keep. And then we could have gone and sold The Princess somewhere else.
We wouldn't have been able to use the rewrite, though, would we?
based now that can be negotiated. I believe in that contract, because they're a major studio, they would own all development materials.
Yeah.
But we could go back to the original spec script,
Yeah.
and go out and sell that original spec script.
Yeah, totally.
And then we would, if we did, we'd have to be very careful about how we then rewrote that for the new studio, basically saying, look, this was there. They would have the choice. They could buy those materials from, let's say, the Studio A, which happens all the time as well. They go, well, how much did they pay you? And then they go to Studio A and say, hey, we'll pay you a couple $100,000, so just so that we have a clean chain of title and we can use whatever ideas came up with.
Yeah, totally.
Or they can say, no, we don't want to pay that money, so you guys just have to
or the company might go,
documents.
Or the company might go, we're not selling it to you. We had an experience several years ago, which was for a big company, big streamer. And we developed a adaptation of a comic book as a TV show for said company. It did not end up moving forward with the company. About 6 months later, the producers came back and said, we now have another party interested in producing. This was actually a studio based out of China, and went back to Streamer and said, can we purchase this project back from you? And that Streamer said, no, you cannot.
Yeah.
And so this was based on a comic book.
So we could go back to the comic.
We still had the comic book, but anything that was an adaptation from that comic for the TV version, for the Streamer, would not be allowed. So we had to go back and re-break, like the way that, like,
the whole thing. I mean, it was a completely new take on the comic.
Completely new take.
Completely. And quite frankly, it wasn't as good.
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't.
Our best idea was our first version.
The best idea was our first version of it. It's right. I know. It's one of those.
But, here's the interesting thing. So on the project that we're working on with Nate, there is a screenplay already. And so our proposal to him was a shopping agreement.
Yeah.
And here's why I believe, and we've just actually been through this with an attorney, with our attorney on one of our screenplays.
Yes.
We thought we were going to enter into an option agreement with the company. They submitted a shopping agreement. There are reasons why we're trying to negotiate things, but this is what our attorney said, and we'd never really experienced this before, which is, in a shopping agreement, you have much more ability to control those development materials.
Yeah.
You can put language into your shopping agreement that says, and we've done this one time before as well with a different producer.
Yeah.
You can put language into your shopping agreement that says any materials, any and all materials that are developed by either the producer with another writer, you with the producer, during that 18 months, at the end of that 18 months, they belong to you. And that can be in writing. And because they're not paying you, don't really
have a leg to stand on. That's exactly right. If they want ownership over those development materials, pay us.
They need to pay.
Pay us.
And
again, it's not an enormous amount of money, not for a big company.
Sure. No. And in an option, let's be clear, you can negotiate for that in an option as well. It's just harder because they're spending money. And if they're spending money, they want something for it. And the only thing they're going to get for it is those development materials.
Indeed. Indeed.
The third way, which we talked about, which is there's no agreement at all, what we discovered from our attorney in this particular situation is that if you are developing something from the very beginning, from the kernel of an idea, and there is no written word yet, you don't really need either one of those things, because there isn't actually anything to shop yet, and there isn't actually anything to option yet. And that producer, because of their contributions, are going to expect to be part of that process no matter what. They are helping develop that from the ground up. Now, could you try and get them to sign a shopping agreement on that? Yes, you can always
sure. Yeah.
It's almost insulting to do so. If you're asking a producer to go, I want you to help me write this script from the very beginning and give me notes from the very beginning. But if you can't sell it, you don't get any credit for any of the work you did. And goodbye. Now, in certain situations, maybe you could get that producer to say, go with God, and I'll sign a document and I'll let you have everything. That
Right.
depends on your relationship with them. In other situations, if they can't set it up, you might have a new agreement drawn up that says, in the event that you sell it, they get an EP credit and maybe a little chunk of change for the work they did.
Yeah.
The reason to do a shopping agreement on a piece of spec material, though, is to avoid the legalities of the notes not being yours.
Yes.
And we have predominantly developed, I guess it's about 50-50. When we've been developing original ideas with producers, some of them have been scripts to begin with, and some of them have just been ideas to begin with.
Yes.
And the scripts in the past, we have not had shopping agreements on until very late in the game. We actually ended up with a shopping agreement on Winter's Night.
We did, I remember.
Because our producer actually wanted to protect themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. And here's the interesting thing about a shopping agreement. It protects the producer and it protects you.
That's right.
You should not be afraid of them ever.
No. Totally.
People don't like them because they're not making any money and then they can't do anything with their script for that amount of time. My response to that is, if you don't believe the producer can do something with your script, don't fucking give it.
You absolutely shouldn't be working with them in the first place.
Why are you with them?
You
better, if you're going to get into bed with someone on something that you believe truly could be a movie, well, you better believe in them. And if you believe in them, then what's the harm in giving them 18 months, especially in this climate with how long it takes to put a package together?
Completely.
So I'm a big fan now of shopping agreements for completed material that you're then going to continue to develop with someone.
Indeed.
And if you need the money and you really want an option and it's worth it to you to get $15,000 up front, even if it means having to negotiate out a whole deal, go for it.
Yeah.
We've taken the perspective, Jake, you and I, of going, we would rather not negotiate with you, producer. We'd rather negotiate with the studio because our quotes are large.
Yeah.
And we would rather have that.
Yeah.
Versus, we'd rather have the ability to negotiate on our own. And we would rather keep development materials. So we'll bet on ourselves, basically. But other people are not in that situation. And a lot of people are still working support jobs. And the idea of a $10,000 option coming in is big.
It is.
So I think they're both great. And I also think, depending on the producer that you're working with, if it's early enough in the stage, don't push for a contract.
Yeah.
It just kind of makes people go,
okay, well,
you want to get lawyers involved now? We just started working together. So that's it. Development.
That's the business. That's the business talk. My wife is asking, when are you going to start writing?
Gosh, Siri,
we've started doing a little.
Clearly, you're not watching very often.
20-25 minutes. We do a little business talk at the start of every show. It felt like it might be interesting.
It is. Whatever. It's our perspective on the business side of things. What I feel like is making our podcast unique from all the others is that we're talking about things that other people don't necessarily talk about. Right. So, like, for example, we're talking about Jake's wife. Most people don't talk about that.
Most people. I mean, I can't think of any other screenwriting podcasts. I can't think of one that have mentioned the amazing Siri Baruch Thornton.
Oh, you might have mentioned her in one of the ones that we've gone on.
This is true. I might have. In fact, I probably did, actually.
You probably have sung her praises. I know I have with my wife, so I'm sure you have with yours.
I definitely did.
One time you embarrassed me because you did for yours and then said, oh, well, I guess Ben isn't going to say anything about his wife. Which was really wrong, by the way. But that was in front of an auditorium full of people.
I didn't. I just said I just want to thank my wife, and you're like, and you said, "Well, I guess I'm going to thank my wife."
Anyway, you're right, Siri. It's time to get going. It's 24 and a half minutes in.
It is.
We are going to try to get to our climax of one today.
Try really hard.
Yes, we're going to fight for it.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Right,
fight
let's open
for
up.
it.
Let's open up our document.
Yes.
Let's do it.
All
Let's
right,
do
sounds
it.
good.
Let's do it.
Oh,
I'm
new
ready for the week.
version.
I'm ready for the weekend now, though. It's rain. I'm up in Washington. And it's raining. It's going to rain all day, and then, as I was saying, next week it's actually going to snow up here.
I'm going to give a quick plug to our screenwriting software right now.
Do it.
Fade In.
Fade In
is a fantastic piece of software. We've talked about it before. What just happened on my end that you couldn't see is I opened Fade In, and guess what? They had an update.
Oh, free update.
It was free.
Doesn't give free updates. Final Draft. Lots of people, there's this constant thing amongst screenwriters about, what pieces of software to use. And, I will say that when you get to production, I feel like when you get to production, Final Draft is generally the one that
it's slowly changing, though.
But I think it is
more EPs on TV shows.
Absolutely.
That want to use Fade In. Everyone else is going to have to fall in line.
Absolutely right. I completely agree. But Fade In is more affordable, and we found it to be more stable.
Yeah.
We had lost a lot of work using Final Draft. It's why we actually made the switch.
That's the most important thing.
That's the most important thing. And we really liked Fade In's auto save feature, which we've used a fair amount.
Yeah, and Final Draft has autosave. It just wasn't, like you said, it wasn't stable. We would lose entire days' work.
Absolutely right.
It drove us insane.
Yeah.
But we have had almost no problems with Fade In.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of really great things, like you'll see on this screen, the navigator. It's fantastic.
I think Fade In now, Final Draft has that now too. I think generally in terms of what is available in the actual program itself, they're very similar.
Yeah, probably.
It's just more affordable. It doesn't update. It feels like Final Draft's really just become driven by profits.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Anyway,
okay, here we are.
Here we are. And we were at a church, and Charlize sees Sam.
Yes.
Sam says she's always felt like she had a purpose, but life has stood in the way. And what we need here is we need to see that Charlize has a moment.
Where she was like expecting Sam to be this evil, horrible, dark person. And instead she just finds a girl with a problem.
Finds a broken person.
Yeah. Who's looking to be good.
Bill needs to kill her.
Yes.
Now, here's the interesting thing about writing this in an outline. That will probably get written as action through a look.
Yes.
And maybe what we do that some other writers don't do is a bit of an internal monologue written in action, because in our opinion, being from as actors previously, sometimes you can write what a person is feeling because you actually will see that on the screen.
Absolutely.
And that's important. There's this old rule that you never write what's not on the screen. And so writers shy away from anything that is inside a character's head. Mm-hmm. But if you really think about what an actor has to do, is they have to express on camera what the character is feeling and thinking. And so if you want to guide that for plot or character purposes, it's fine to put it in action.
I wouldn't do it loads.
Yeah.
Well, I think we would do it when, and again, when we come to write this moment, it will be, how will we phrase it whereby it feels like you go, from the look on her face, blah, 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 blah. Or
in our action sequences, we do it a ton. And the reason we do it a ton in that is that, number one, it just reads great. But it would be like, the princess gets knocked to the ground. Shit, that hurts.
Sure. Yeah.
Internal.
Yes. But it's not. She thinks blah, 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 blah.
I don't think we've ever written she thinks.
No, of course.
Because that literally is just in her head. But
Right.
the emotion of what's happening on her face or in her body,
yes,
I think can be described in really fun and exciting ways.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
Yeah. I agree.
You know, Charlize,
yeah, or it's like,
what's different about her?
Totally. Can she do this?
Can she do this?
Yeah.
Her conflict is on her face.
Yes, totally.
You know,
completely.
that kind of thing.
Like that. Yeah.
So the next scene, I think, is gonna be Sam arriving home after the meeting.
Yeah. Do we want a beat of as Sam is traveling home, Charlize is following her, or do we just jump there?
I think we can have her arrive home. We know what Charlize is here to do. We could see them drive off and see Zod, but I feel like I want a little bit more space.
I'm not sure I need Zod.
I'm not sure space.
Now, I could have, again, maybe the happy medium is, exterior Sam's apartment night. Sam fumbles with her keys, picks them up, puts them in the lock. Watching from across blah, 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 blah is Charlize.
Yes.
Now, that way I go, oh, I understand she's followed right here. She's moment right.
She's pulled up, she's parked a few, like half a block down, watching Sam enter the building.
Great.
Yeah.
So, there's my son Phoenix giving me a Amazon delivery.
Hey, Phoenix, home early today.
Yes. Parent-teacher conference week.
I had that too.
Yeah.
All right. Exterior, Sam's house or Sam's apartment building, as we've said so far.
Yeah.
Sam approaches, fumbles with her keys.
Mm-hmm.
Behind her, half a block down.
Yeah.
Charlize
pulls up in her car. Checks her weapon.
Pulls up in her car. Interior Charlize's car. Continuous. This is one of those moments where it would be continuous because we're sticking with Charlize. Charlize watches Sam and checks her weapon. Now, are we going to do... I think we should get close. I don't think the sniper rifle works for me anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't really
into the apartment, take out the boyfriend, get really close to killing Sam until Hank shoots.
I don't think she should kill the boyfriend.
No. Take him out.
I see. Sure.
Get him out of the way. Bash him over the head. He falls passed out.
Okay.
Whatever it is. I mean, he could be tied and gagged if we want, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'd rather have him knocked out,
So the question is, so we're right here. This is where it's all going to culminate, right? Hank has also been following this. Here's an interesting way to do this. What if Sam, we don't see any of this on screen. Sam gets up to her apartment, finds her boyfriend tied and gagged. Who's there? Hank. Hank, has a gun on her. And Hank's already there. Hank's one step ahead of Charlize because actually we saw him leave before Charlize.
We did.
And so when Charlize goes in sneaky, she shows up to Hank. And Hank, because of his demonic energy meter, Geiger counter that goes, goes, holy shit, demon, boom. And they get into a fight right then and there. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? Da, 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 da. And then what happens?
Now, what's Sam doing in the middle of this?
Well, Hank would take Sam. Hank's either taken Sam hostage or, I mean, the big question is why doesn't he just kill her right away?
Yeah.
Well, does Hank know the myth? Does Hank know that she's the Antichrist, or does he just know that massive demonic energy has happened here and he's followed that demonic energy to here? Hank is a demon hunter. Hank may not know the full element.
Yeah.
Does Hank think that Sam is a demon? Again, why doesn't he just kill her right away? I don't know. But there is it's a very good question. Yeah, and yet I don't want either one of them to kill her right away.
Yeah.
But there's something cool about showing up and having her expectations completely thwarted. She thinks
Yes,
she's
I
the
like
one going in.
that too. I do like that too.
Does she show up and Sam's on the ground begging for her life?
Maybe. Yeah, I think that's probably
Boyfriend's tied and gagged. Sam's on the ground. Please, please, please.
Yeah,
I
totally.
didn't do
Yeah,
anything.
so, yeah, okay.
You
So,
know?
yeah, we're not in the scene, but if we were in the scene, as Charlize is walking down the balcony outside, whatever, the walkway,
Right.
you know, his Geiger counter's pushing into the red and starting to squeal and you know.
Yeah.
You know,
So
or we do see it from Sam's perspective. We go in, boyfriend is tied up, suddenly, whack, she's clubbed over the face.
So what's better? The
exactly.
anticipatory anxiety of Charlize, who we know is the good guy, and Hank, who we don't know who he is.
Yeah.
Knowing that Charlize is about to walk into the situation, that's one version of anticipatory anxiety that is never bad.
Yeah.
Or the complete and total surprise moment of, I'm here to kill you. Boom! A fucking shotgun blast goes off. What the hell? And it's Hank. I don't know. Which one's better?
I think probably the second one. It feels more exciting. Yeah. Here's the thing. At the moment,
they're both legitimate options.
We emotionally respond to Sam, although we see this as a character who's got fucked up stuff going on in their life. We feel sorry for her. So there's that emotional thing going on with that. Charlize has got a gun. She's going, we think, to go and kill this person, but we also have seen that this is going to be difficult for her. So I think we'll be suspecting that she will not be doing this. Hank, we've no fucking clue where he's at right now. We think Hank's a bad guy, along with Zod. We know that they're bad guys. You know,
we know that Hank is a demon hunter, and so he's a threat. We don't know that he's going to come to Charlize's aid.
Yeah,
we know that he's probably based on what we've seen, he's probably a Ghostbuster for demons, right?
Yes.
And Charlize is a demon, and we know that. So Charlize, he is an antagonistic force right now.
Yeah.
To Charlize's goal.
Yes.
Now, that's an interesting thought as well. Is Hank here to protect Sam?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I'm just tossing it out as an option.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Is that an option?
Whereby Hank has actually come here. We don't know this, but Hank is an antagonistic force to Charlize from the beginning because Hank knows that Sam is not a demon and can, in theory, turn back the clock. Charlize shows up to kill Sam. They get into a fight. Hank knows that demons are coming here because of all of his equipment. And Charlize, the problem is, I think then Charlize is a bad guy to Hank no matter what, and I don't know how Charlize could convince him otherwise.
Yeah.
If Charlize stops Hank from killing Sam, I would believe that Hank might come around to Charlize's side.
You're not like other demons I've seen before.
Correct.
Yeah.
And yet, I will counter that with, what does Hank think the demons want to do? They don't want to kill Sam. They want to keep Sam alive.
Yeah.
So Charlize trying to stop Hank is the same as we would expect from any demon.
This is true.
If Charlize has come here to kill Sam, that would be the opposite of what Hank would expect.
Right. Yes, this is okay. All right. So that leaves us then with
a little confusing.
It's a little confusing. Is that right? Is this the right? But you know. Yeah, so by Charlize coming in to kill Sam,
make sense. Yeah.
But she shows Hank that she's not like her kind.
She's on the side of humanity.
She's on the side of humanity.
Because Hank and her both believe that Sam is what the demons want.
Is evil. They've actually both come to kill her.
Correct.
However, when they both come to kill her,
she manages to survive.
Well, is it about Manchester? But they go, oh, fuck. Something happens with the demon. Something happens with Charlize, which is oh man, this is just the girl and she's fucking struggling and I can't bring myself to do this.
Well, and I like that. I like what we've set up, which is a visual representation of that, which is that the mark of Cain hasn't fully formed yet.
Right.
And if we truly have free will, if God has truly given humanity free will, that means she can change her path.
Yeah. Right.
And Charlize, if Sam goes, I'll be better. I promise. I'll do whatever you say. I'll change my entire life. Whatever you want. I don't want this. Da, da, da. And Charlize was there at the NA meeting and actually believes her.
Mm-hmm.
That would be her motivation for stopping. And what's interesting actually is Sam goes, you were at the meeting. I wasn't lying. I really do want to change. I really do want to get better. Please, please don't kill me. I still have my whole life ahead of me. I'm not who you think I am. All this pleading.
Yeah.
I don't know why that convinces Hank.
Yeah, I think it must come down to the mark. She's not fully there yet. And she's just and
so here's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Hank has come, tied up boyfriend. Sam opens the door. Hank grabs her, pulls her down, looking for the mark of Cain. He's pulled off wherever he's pulled down her shirt and sees that the mark has not been finished yet. He has a book or something on it.
Yeah.
What it's supposed to look like. He holds it up to the mark. Why isn't it complete?
Yeah.
What is this? I don't know what this is.
Great.
You need to die. What are you talking about? I don't understand what you're talking about. Please. All of a sudden, Charlize
comes in.
Boom. What the fuck?
They just get into a fight because she's a demon.
Fight.
Yeah.
What are you here to do? I'm here to kill her. What are you here to do? I'm here to kill her too.
Yeah.
What? But you're a demon. Don't you want her? No. I am a demon, but I want to save her.
Yeah.
Okay, none of this makes any sense. And then Zod shows up.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, okay. I think that's the shape of it. I think
we want to see Hank go through those motions. Actually, I think so, yes.
I think so, yes.
So we're going to go to interior for Sam's apartment building hallway. This is just a quick connective tissue beat.
Yeah.
Night. She gets to her door. Opens it, and just as she steps in,
I liked what you picture, which was she sees the boyfriend tied up, and then
sees
back over the head.
Boyfriend, and is grabbed by by a gloved hand or something like that. A gloved hand. The door is slammed shut.
Sure.
Door is slammed shut. And then we go continuous, interior apartment, continuous. The gloved hand
belongs
to Hank.
Yep.
Hank. He throws Sam down on the ground, aims a shotgun at her. Where's the mark?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I quite like the idea of him like wax her in there, because I need to understand why Sam doesn't run out while they're both fighting.
Sure. He whacks her in the head.
Yeah.
Pulls down the top of her shirt to find the mark.
Yes.
Yeah. Whacks her in the head. She's knocked out.
Yeah.
Pulls down the shoulder of her shirt and finds the mark of Cain.
Yeah.
But something is off.
Yeah. It's not complete.
Takes out his phone, holds up the image to her mark.
Yeah.
It's not complete. What the fuck? That's not what he was expecting.
Yeah. Then door opens, or Geiger counter on his belt, I'm just calling it Geiger counter for the moment, starts to whine. He turns just as the door opens.
His belt, makes noise.
Yeah.
Shit, a demon is approaching.
Yeah.
Now, does Sam just go through the front door?
Does Sam just go through the front door? What
Not
do you
Sam, Charlize.
Yeah, I think so.
She just comes through the front door because she doesn't care. She's got her guns and she's just going to kill them.
Yeah.
So then let's have her kick the door open.
Sure, great. Yes. Demon is approaching. Boom. Yeah. Door is kicked open. Standing there is Charlize, guns drawn. Hank draws his gun. Fight.
Police, guns drawn.
Yeah.
Hank fires at her. She dives out of the way.
Yes. And then we'll insert fun fight moment here.
Yeah.
And we'll write it when we write it. But ultimately, what ends up happening? They end up in a kind of.
They end up in a. Well, I mean, sure. Okay. How to make this a fight where they would end up in a standoff? Charlize is a demon.
Yeah.
Hank is just a guy, but Hank is a demon hunter. We need to have Hank have some like Q style, Ghostbuster style things that make him capable of hunting demons, and thus put him kind of head to head with Charlize in a way that Charlize is not expecting.
Yeah.
So that we can get to that conversation of, what are you doing? I'm here to kill her. Like Hank's like, I'm not going to let you take her. What do you mean you're not going to let me take her? I'm here to kill her. I'm here to kill her. What? What? And they're both like, this doesn't make any sense. You're a demon. Why would you want to kill her? She's the Antichrist. I know she's the Antichrist. That's why I want to kill her. You get a fun moment of banter between them, and then, like, through the window, crash, Zod and crew come in. You know?
Well, okay, but my question then becomes still, if I've then got Sam in the middle, Charlize and Hank on one side, Zod on the other, why do I not just kill the girl right now? There needs to be a moment why we grab her and bring her with us.
Because Hank says to her, the mark's not I don't even know that it's her. The mark isn't full. What do you mean the mark isn't full? There's still one bar missing.
Yeah, sure.
Are you serious? Let me see. She sees. That means it's not too late.
Yeah.
I'm talking about it's not too late. If the mark isn't finished, it's not too late.
Great.
Then they show up right at that moment.
That's all I needed. Yeah.
So, fight ensues. We find some cool way.
Yeah. And again, because we're outlining at the moment, we know that there's a fight here. We're not going to detail all the moments of the fight.
Yeah.
But when we write it, we will.
Tech. Most likely tech-based.
Yes, tech-based with religious symbolism. It's the same as having, runes on the bullets and shit like that.
But like something that like stops, like if he's wearing a bulletproof vest carved in runes, and so her punch doesn't have the same effect.
Yeah, sure, totally.
Something we haven't seen before. Something cool.
Totally. Yeah.
Symbolism. In the standoff, we get the fun banter of why are you here? Why are you? No, why are you here?
No, why are you here? No.
We both
had that for 5 minutes
to kill her, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And then Hank says, "You know what doesn't make sense?
She's not even there yet." Yeah.
Makes sense. I don't even think she's the one. What do you mean? She's definitely the one. Charlize knows she's the one. I think it's her. Why? Mark isn't complete.
Yeah.
Complete. Charlize looks at it. He's right. There's still hope. And then Zod and gang
burst through the windows.
Now I think Zod and gang now have grown from just the three. They've got to have like 2 other dudes that in this scene get killed.
Cool.
so that it then boils down back to the OG3.
Yeah.
But in this scene, we get to see that Hank and Charlize are willing to kill demons in order to
Right.
protect Sam.
Great. Cool.
Fight. Zod has bigger crew.
Yeah. And this fight just takes place in Sam's apartment.
I mean, they could grab Sam, and it could take place in the alley outside. It could take place. Ultimately, they're not going to win the fight. They're not going to kill Zod. They're just going to escape.
No, yeah.
So the fight will continue through the escape until they actually get the hell out of there.
Grabber, let's get out of here.
Zod has bigger crew, and Sam and Hank work together to save Sam and escape. And
we do. And that's the end of our one. Oh, we did it. Thank goodness.
We did it, Jakey.
And interesting, that our Act 1 in outline is about 12 pages long. If we go to the same detail that we do in all of this, our document will be 45 to 50 pages long. Maybe less.
Yeah, which is probably standard for our detailed documents.
It probably is. Yeah, I mean, it's probably at least 40.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that those 12 pages of outline will probably turn into, 36 pages of Act 1. And that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Because we have a prologue.
Yeah, completely.
In fact, if we landed on page 36 for this, I'd be very happy.
I'll be very happy. Yeah, completely. Good. That's really excellent. I think we should probably wrap up. I don't feel this is
Friday. It's Friday, and we just ended outlining Act 1 of our spec, and I feel very good. I see that we've got a few people watching right now. We have a few minutes left. Does anyone have a question that is watching live? Please
have a question.
We're open to answering anything you want. So we'll vamp for 2 minutes while we wait for somebody else.
Well, we obviously
where do we go from here?
Out, and I think what we will do next time is just go back to our scratch pad.
Yes.
And just see because I can't
major turning points.
I can't remember what the next part of it actually is, other than we have a Midnight Run style. We're going
Terminator style. We're now being chased.
Midnight Run, that kind of thing.
We're now being chased. We're going to get our expositional. This is what's happening to you moments. We're going to go hide. And then I actually, you know what? I don't remember what the midpoint that we decided was.
Yeah. We had talked back and forth about, I'll add another question into this as well. And it was about the police aspect of it,
oh yes. Third, this girl's now been kidnapped. You know what's interesting
and
about
there's also been a big gunfight.
You know what's interesting about that? The cops, in theory, could show up because of something regarding her parents' death and witness these people running and have a real true.
I don't know that it needs to be based on her parents' death. They're here because there's a gunfight going on.
Yes.
Somebody
else called the cops, and it's been
somebody else called the cops.
Because this fight's now lasted a while.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna put that here. Someone called the cops.
Yeah.
The cops. Now they witness Sam's kidnapping, and they become another obstacle to keeping her safe.
Yeah.
But the real question that they're going to have, the conflict of Act 2.1 between Hank and Charlize, is what do we do with her?
Yeah.
And
here it must be the decision of she's not done yet. There is still hope for her. Hank getting on, but they ultimately both get on board with this idea. Yeah,
what do we do with her? And I'm thinking again in terms of I loved this scene from The Old Man. Did you watch The Old Man?
No.
The show.
No.
Watch The Old Man. Anyone watching this, watch The Old Man. It's fantastic.
What's The Old Man?
It's Jeff Bridges.
Don't you mean The Bear? Isn't it called The Bear?
No, The Bear is Half Hour.
Oh, I
Bear-
completely got these two shows conflated.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate because we've been talking about the Bear a
Yeah,
lot
no,
lately.
totally. Yeah.
The Bear is a half-hour show about a guy who comes home to take over his brother's restaurant.
Right.
The Old Man is like Jason Bourne with an old man.
Right.
And The Old Man is, I mean, they're both bonkers shows that I love in totally different ways.
Right.
But in The Old Man, there's a person who gets involved that Jeff Bridges has to kidnap. And there's a great scene where he drives out into the middle of a field because he doesn't know what the hell to do. And he opens up the trunk because they're in a place that's somewhat safe. And he lets the kidnapped person out. And he's like, look, if you want to go now, go. But I don't know, like, this isn't the way I thought it was going to go. And there's this great scene. Obviously, our scene would be different, but there's this great scene of working out what's going to happen next.
Right.
Hey, we have another viewer. We have probably 5 minutes left. So if you have a question, ask it. That's what we're doing right now as we vamp. But those are two great shows to watch.
Yeah.
And actually, what's interesting about The Old Man also, I'm going to give you some homework, Jake. Watch The Old Man.
Okay.
Because not only will you love it, but it has a bit of a chase quality to it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Go and check it out.
It is a man who's literally been found after being in hiding for a very long time.
Yeah.
And his past demons resurface, and now he has to go on the run.
Right.
And at a certain point, he goes, "I'm not running anymore."
Sure.
And it actually follows the structure that we're kind of talking
Interesting.
about.
Okay, I'll go and have a look at it.
It's great. And you know what? Siri will probably enjoy it too. The performances of Jeff Bridges and
I love him anyway. I love him in everything.
The other actor you'll love as well, Third Rock from the Sun and Dexter.
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow. Oh,
yeah.
Wonderful.
Great.
The emotional. I told you about this scene. There's an emotional scene in the first episode. I'm not spoiling anything. You learn that.
You told me the scene.
Oh, it is so well. It's a masterclass.
Oh, great.
Fucking masterclass in acting.
I'll go and check it out.
Really,
well, look, we have no questions, so why don't we wrap it up? It is Friday.
Guys. Great. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. And we'll crack on with Act 2 next week. I think we have some time. I think we are going to be doing a set.
We have a question.
Oh,
here we go.
Right.
Question, Crystal. Thank you, Crystal. Awesome. Do you go back to pull from the films that are inspiring this one, or do you feel like you know them so well you don't need to go back to reference them, like the Terminator?
Yeah.
Well, great question, Crystal.
Yeah.
If you go back, we actually have an episode, two episodes, whereby we did exactly this. We both went back and watched the movies that were inspiring what we wanted to do here. And we've both seen those movies. I've seen the Terminator 100 times, but when you go back with a very specific intention because you have a new idea, you're looking at the movie through a different lens.
Yeah.
And I find it always helpful. We make an entire watch list at the very beginning of our process. We go, what are the movies that we can watch, regardless of whether we've seen them even in the last 6 months? What are the movies that we can watch now through the lens of the movie that we're trying to write?
Totally. And we actually have watched 4. So we watched Midnight Run, we watched Terminator, we watched Constantine, and we watched Legion.
Yeah.
So we watched Midnight Run and Terminator for this kind of like chase aspect, this going from either being chased or going on a journey from A to B, and having obstacles along the way. And then we watched Legion and Constantine from that kind of what has been done in terms of demon-y type movies. And actually we had some good takeaways from both of those movies.
And it's interesting what you just said. Our first 2 movies were about observing structure. Our second 2 movies were about observing world.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to watch examples of both. Yeah. For multiple reasons. You don't want to copy them. Yeah. But you want to do what they did well.
Yes, and that's it. Yeah.
So much from watching movies.
And what you'll find as well is even if the answer is they did something unique.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to find our own version of being unique. So again, we're talking about our demon-y type characters. We go, okay, I've got some cool visuals I haven't seen before. The way they enter the world, the way they look when they're in demon form is different. And I'm really excited by all of those things. Just go, I can't wait to start to really visualize that and get that down on the page. So,
yeah, it's going to be super fun. And you know what? We'll probably go back and watch more movies.
Yeah, we will. In fact, one of the
reference
things we were going to do was
already
Terminator 2, and we haven't done Terminator 2 yet.
Yeah, Terminator 2's on there. I think there's something else too.
Yeah, we'll have a little look. We'll have a little look next week and see if we can maybe do another watch. Again, having constructed Act 1 and going, yeah, here's what we can.
Really look at like what movies do Act 2s in the way that we want to do this Act 2.
Completely.
And looking at that and see, you know, honestly, my education as a screenwriter has probably come predominantly, if not like 90%, from watching movies.
Absolutely right. I agree.
And I think it's always valuable.
Have a good weekend, Ben.
Thanks, Jake. I will. And we will see you all back Monday.
Next week it's going to be 2 p.m.
2 p.m. Pacific. That is our goal. Hopefully we can stick to it. We'll see you Monday through Friday next week at 2 p.m. Pacific. Come back, tell your friends. Thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend.
Thanks.